I think it's very important in the film that and this is why I'm so glad that Sydney played the character. It's that character be adorable at the beginning of the film, and so that you can really feel how he, over the course of their relationship, kind of sucks the light out of her. And to feel that, I think you really need to just feel that almost childlike joy at the beginning.
Hello, and welcome back to The Director's Cut, brought to you by the Directors Guild of America. In this episode, an unshakable desire to win fuels a young woman's journey to becoming the most successful female boxer of the 90s, director David Michôd's biographical sports drama, Christy. The film tells the true story of Christy Martin, who never imagined life beyond her small-town roots in West Virginia until she discovered a talent in the boxing ring. But her toughest battles start to unfold outside of the ring as she confronts family, identity, and a relationship that just might become life or death. In addition to Christy, Michôd's other directorial credits include the feature films The King, War Machine, The Rover, and Animal Kingdom, and episodes of the series Doc World, Flesh and Bone, and Enlightened. Following a screening of the film at the DGA Theater in Los Angeles, Michôd spoke with director John Lee Hancock about filming Christy. Listen on for their spoiler-filled conversation.
Thanks for coming out to see this wonderful movie. I was asked to do this, and I said, "Hell yes, I want to do it." And I then got to see the movie, and I'm so happy I said that I wanted to do it because, one, selfishly, I wanted a conversation with David. I'm a big fan, and also just to talk kind of director to director a little bit more. I appreciate these settings because they're not necessarily just press kind of stuff that you're doing, that maybe we can ask some questions selfishly again that I might want the answers to, or so that I can get better at what I do. And also that maybe, we've got directors and people in the guild out here and things like that maybe we can talk about things that they might be interested in as well. So, I can't help myself. I bring notes. So
that's good. You're prepared. I like it.
Huh?
You're prepared. It's good.
Well, you know how it is. You have them, and then you come to the set, and then at some point you just toss them, I think by writing them down, they kind of embed in your head a little bit. But we'll see. So tell me how get a little bit of the lay of the land. How did this come about, David?
I was a wonderful man named Brad Zimmerman, who runs a company that I started a few years ago, came to me and said, "How would you feel about telling the Christy Martin story?" And I said, "Who's Christy Martin?" He's pointed me in the direction of Laura Brownson's really, really great documentary on Netflix. And I was shocked that I had never heard Christy's. I just hadn't heard Christy's story before, but was also just, her story is extraordinary. Normally I would run a mile, I think, from, when a documentary is really good, I kind of question why a movie needs to be made. But what drew me into this one was, I didn't necessarily think I had a boxing movie in me. What drew me in was wanting to understand how these coercive control relationships function. How is it that a woman as strong and powerful as Christy Martin could be trapped in a relationship like this for 20 years? And I started doing a lot of reading about coercive control relationships, and I found it terrifying. The statistics are really, really frightening. sorry, I was just thinking, I don't know. I always feel like, so this is one of those, things where it's really grim. I never want to start one of these as like on a downer, but, it's, I had been aware of this stuff for a little while in Australia because it had started becoming very prominent in the press that this is not okay. In Australia, it's a country of about 30 million people. Between 1 and 2 women a week are murdered by an intimate partner. In the UK, a country of about 60 million people, about three women a week are murdered by an intimate partner. In the United States, at the moment, it's about 22 women a week are murdered by an intimate partner. Like, that's an emergency. And that's women who have been murdered. That's not, Christy Martin survived. The more I dug into it, though, I realized that, coercive control is its own very specific thing so you can imagine how exponentially more women there are trapped in these relationships who aren't murdered, who aren't almost murdered, who don't even ever present to an emergency room. It's like a crime. It's like a hostage-taking crime. And I suddenly, not only was understanding this, the reason for me wanting to make the film, it's suddenly started to feel urgent, whatever it is, whatever difference movies make to a conversation about things. And I think they do, I remember, sorry, I'm hogging the mic.
No. This is, please.
A few years ago, I made a movie called War Machine with Brad Pitt about the war in Afghanistan. And, it made zero impact in the kind of, on the cinema landscape. But man, I did so many. I was kind of proud of myself. I just went on a circuit that wasn't really a press tour. It was more just like I was doing so many interviews on political radio shows and stuff, and did so much stuff in DC, and I could feel it. I could feel it start to. It was feeding back to me all the time. People in the Pentagon are talking about this movie. They're going, finally, someone's calling out the bullshit. So I do believe that. Movies are an important additive to a broader conversation about things. They do make a difference. And not that I want this to be agitprop, but I did see a way of kind of Trojan horsing a really important story into the world, all in and amongst the kind of wild, colourful and inspiring and moving story of Christy Martin.
It is. I was thinking the exact same thing before you said it. It is a Trojan a Trojan horse of sorts to get in and talk about these things. And yet it doesn't feel like it's just a pile of wood stuck together. It has its own form and function, and they work alongside in a way. So that's a real credit to you, because it would be, if you wore it completely on your sleeve, that, I really don't care about the boxing. It's about this. The boxing as an expression of who she is was interesting to me because I've done a couple of sports movies, and it's always weird because you say sports movie, and really the ones that I think are good really aren't sports movies at all, about something else, which everybody always pitches, but it seems like there's continually a big game or a sport allows someone to express themselves in a way that they're unable to in some other way. And I think that certainly is true of Christy Martin in terms of her aggression. But it's weird for me because instead of it being something where there's a beauty that comes from this expression, it's her way of dealing with all the stuff that's inside of her and that she's dealing with. It struck me that this could be a movie about. She could be a painter if it were Jackson Pollock and throwing shit everywhere, but it's something that has to get out of her. And so, kudos to you for doing the sports movie that's not a sports movie, and I'm glad for it.
Yeah, it's true that those yeah, I like that. If she was a painter, there's like her early paintings would start out as kind of beautiful little things of flowers and stuff, because that, you know, her early fights in the movie are all they're kind of like there's a certain magical discovery in them, you know, that she can't believe she's good at this thing, and there's a kind of beautiful, I think, adorable, naive joy in them that as Jim starts sucking the life out of her, the fights start getting angry, and then they start just getting, you know, she turns into a little monster, you know. And that for me was, yeah, like I say, I didn't think that I had a boxing movie in me necessarily, but I quite liked tracking her progression, not only as a fighter but as a human being through these individual fights.
And yet at the same time, as they're progressing, she's winning, she's seeing all this, her life change around her, and yet you never have the feeling that the fight is the most important thing. And even we have a time cut forward, and she's come out and she's still kind of on top. And we hear that she has 3 losses now, and we go, we never even saw those. Those in the big scheme of things, that wasn't what this movie's about. And so, you know, and not only do you get away with it, it works beautifully because you've already established tonally and thematically what you're saying. So I don't know, it's kudos. But look, let's talk about that little monster for a second. Tell me, I mean, one, Sydney is a producer on the film, I see. When did she get involved?
She came, so Mira Folks and I wrote the screenplay, and when we were writing it, we didn't really have any clear sense as to who would play the character, which is a little bit scary. You kind of, you know, in the early days of me writing screenplays, I would naively just write anything and go, someone will play this, you know. But now I'm older and jaded. I'm kind of at some point someone's going to have to pay for this thing, and it's probably not going to be cheap, and you're probably going to want, you know, whatever the modern day equivalent of a movie star is. And right about the time we were ready to start taking it out to the world, a friend of mine said to me, you should have a look at Tina Satter's movie Reality on HBO. And I did, and I think Sydney's performance in that film, I don't know how many people here have seen it, but
it's really good.
Her performance in that movie is extraordinary, you know, because, you know, if a bunch of people here have seen it, it's like it's written from FBI transcripts all in real time, raid on a house. Acting from transcript is so difficult. You'd think it would be easy because it's real people talking, but it's actually really, really hard. Anyways, I knew she had the acting chops. And then another friend told me, you know, she used to be an MMA fighter. She trained and competed in MMA from 12 to 19. And I didn't know that. But that was, you know, MMA is a very different discipline, but I knew she would be prepared for the work that we'd be asking of her. And then I had to send her the script. She came back to us like within 24 hours, and I was on a Zoom with her, and I could tell she wanted this really bad. She was going to work hard. And and I guess as part of all that, at some point someone says, oh, and she wants to be a producer. And I'm like, okay. And that is, you know, Sydney is a proper 21st century creature of the internet, you know. She does have a skill set that no one my age has, you know. And, you know, so that has been valuable-ish. I mean, you know, the proof will be in the pudding, but, you know, we'll see.
And so talk about I mean, like you said, you knew that she was going to be down for whatever was necessary. Talk about the transformation, if you will, from the Sydney Sweeney you might see in social media, and then here she is in this movie, and it's all in, you can tell. So you talk a little bit about your conversations with her, the work she put in, the input that you had in terms of that.
Well, I was still in Sydney for like almost all of her kind of we set her up with a really great boxing trainer, a guy named Matt Bayamonte, who kind of came up under Angelo Dundee, and she was going to have to put on a chunk of weight. She's about the same height as Christy was, but she needed to put on about 35 pounds, and she just started doing that. And she regularly sent me videos of her training sessions or her standing on the scales, And so I knew she was doing the work. She's a machine. I was very confident that stuff was happening. I had the same experience when I made The King with it's like when I cast Timmy Chalamet in that film, I knew that he would have a lot of work to do, a lot of fight training, horse training, accent work. And he was another one that within 5 minutes of talking to him, I knew that, you're a pro, you understand that acting is fun and it should be playful when you're on set. But to get to that playful place, you got to do a lot of work.
No doubt. I mean, the thing that I was quite taken by, actually, even beyond the yes, putting on weight, yes, getting in a certain kind of body fit shape, was just behavior in a weird way within a body that feels different maybe to her, but she was living in it. I mean, I loved the way she walked. I mean, that's something that a trainer can't do. It's like she walked like that person that was that weight and that size and had that attitude. So that's a credit to her and to you, because I know those conversations are to me some of the most fun and sometimes the hardest ones to have. Yeah.
I mean, I had one of the most Sydney was actually one of the most glorious experiences I've had working with an actor. She was, I remember our first day of rehearsal, she turned up and it was like, she was the diligent pupil, she turned up with her folder and it was this fat because it had all these notes in it and little, it was very clear that she'd been doing the work. But then when you get on set, it's like, this stuff it's gold dust for a director when you have an actor who turns up to work just excited to be there, always on time, knows her lines, never runs back to her trailer between setups. She's always just hanging out on set. She'd only ever disappear if she had to do one of her there's like 10,000 look changes in the thing. But, and she the whole crew fed off that, and then she would leave at the end of every day with a massive smile on her face. It's gold dust for
It's amazing how much of an impact number one on the call sheet has. I mean, we want to think as directors and the entire directing crew and everything else has a lot to do with it, and the crew, and it certainly does. But when you're in line with number one on the call sheet and you're all heading the same direction, it really is helpful.
Yeah, and we needed it. This was the shortest shoot I've had since my first movie, and we had to move fast. And I was so relieved when I gleaned that this was her energy in the first 2 days of the shoot. And I was so happy because all that stuff, those little 10 minutes here and there where you're waiting for someone to come back from a trailer or
you die in 5-minute increments on a film set. I mean, it's just the way it is. It's zillions of paper cuts hitting you left and right. Talk to me about rehearsal, specific to this movie, and also your philosophy about it. Like with this, how much rehearsal did you have? Was it at a table? How much of it was, taking the boxing and stuff out of it, not that rehearsal, but in terms of mostly she and Ben, I was quite taken with their relationship and the dynamics of it.
Yeah, I've never rehearsal is kind of strangely different every time. And I wish that, I could, maybe I'll try and do it one day, but insist on a kind of proper theater type rehearsal. Just I want you for 6 weeks, and this is all we're going to do, and we're going to run the thing. We're going to talk about it a lot. It never happens.
I've never had that either. So
no, and so it was we actually didn't really get the scenes up on their feet very much. We just sat around a table and talked and talked about how these relationships function. Sydney obviously had a whole world of stuff to do, but Ben Foster is a beautiful actor. He understood that these men, whilst they do monstrous things, are basically just broken people, who don't know. Usually, they suffer from abandonment issues themselves. They don't know how to process their feelings of challenged masculinity, and so, there's one moment in the movie. It's when Christy walks out the door. He says, "If you leave me, I'll kill you." She says, "You do what you have to do." Then the camera just lands on Jim, and that look on Ben's face is a man just lost. It's not a man angry. Mm-hmm. It's not even a man sad. It's a man bereft, just lost. Mm-hmm. And we shot that in the first couple of days of the shoot, and that was one of those moments where I just understood. I went, oh, he understands who this man is.
His behavior, I mean, you could turn the sound down on every one of their scenes, and this is a real credit to you and to him. And you just know through his behavior, for a guy that's a lot of times not saying much, just you get all the gears grinding in there and what's going on. And I don't know. What is it? The Mike Nichols, every scene's a negotiation, a seduction, or a fight. And you've got them all in this movie. I mean, and yet all of them in some ways are a negotiation, even when they're a fight. And so I don't know. That was, for some reason, that his quote came to mind when I was watching the movie, because I thought, man, this is just exhibit A of that.
Yeah, I mean, he's a man struggling. I mean, this is why, I kind of did. I went into this, as I say, wanting to understand how women can be trapped in these relationships. I then started to wonder how these men get trapped in them, because it does not look fun for him at all. I mean, it's 20 years of his own kind of self-suffering, self-inflicted. Mm-hmm. These are usually men who sometimes they can be powerful, they can be in positions of power. They just don't have the mental capacity to process their inner emotional world.
Where, to that note, when you had a scene with them, and let's say you're loosely blocking it, excuse me, on the set or something, I mean, talk to me about that. What's your process in terms of that? How much is necessary? How much isn't required? How you talk to the actors, either together or separately?
In blocking a scene?
I mean, just you've got a scene where something big is happening between the two of them in the house, let's say, and just the obviously blocking is energy exhibition and giving away, those kind of things and all that. I mean, but just talk to me, because I'm just interested in other directors and how they do it, because I'm always trying to learn. Was it different every time? I guess what I'm asking is, so was it like, okay, everybody be quiet. We're going to, now we're going to have a rehearsal here. We're going to block it. And generally everybody finds their kind of places, and if you've got a light where you're going to light, and then you go, okay, let's roll.
Depending on the nature of the scene, I will, if it's quite a few scenes on this movie, I like to clear the set and just get the actors in, and usually for just for my purposes, I will have an idea, a plan of where I want them to be, and then I will let them start exploring the space. And if, but that plan that I have isn't just about, oh, what's going to be good for me to point a camera at. It will be about, I have a feeling that, in this scene, I think, I mean, it can be things as simple as, I want you low and you high, or, and then I will just, and then I will run it a few times. I mean, some of them are, and sometimes you need to take the time with that. I mean, there's one scene in there where, they're playing pool. It's like his sort of seduction, the beginnings of his gaslighting and kind of, negging her and stuff. But it's all while you have to kind of map out a whole physical thing. And we were at some bar in North Carolina called Johnny Dollars, and I cleared the place out, and it was just me and Ben and Sid and Jermaine, the DP. Mm-hmm. And I must have taken a long time because people were coming, every now and then someone would come in and say, people are freaking out outside. Like this is, maybe I took an hour to do it. But it means that once you've done it and everyone's comfortable in it, mm-hmm. then you just move, then you just, you know what your shots are, you know what you're doing, the actors know what they're doing, it all just plays, and then you can actually shoot it relatively quickly. Mm-hmm. With
these two actors, and they're both fine actors and they're very distinct characters, did you ever find yourself in situations, I've been asked this and I've thought about this a lot, because we come across it, which is there are things that are said for the benefit of both in the scene, and then there are things that are said to each individually that you might not want their counterpart to hear. Not that you're saying anything bad about their counterpart, but I mean, I'm just about the process of that. Is there ever?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's also dependent on the actor, It's like Sydney's just one of those people. She doesn't care. She doesn't care what's said in front of her, whatever. And, Ben would be more the kind of actor who he'd be more, I wouldn't necessarily feel the need to sidle up to him quietly. Oh, no, maybe I would. But he would regularly feel like he wanted to come to me and say, hey, I'm thinking I might try this. And he didn't want Sid to hear it. Yeah. They are such different actors, that he's a very, I mean, he's a beautiful dude, but very, takes the work very seriously. It's all very, very considered. And Sid's so intuitive, I mean, in some ways, one of the joys for me of directing her was that it was like playing with like kids' toys, in a way. That sounds so patronizing, but
I know exactly.
But I could talk to her in a way that was so much looser and more playful than I'm used to talking to actors. Where I've got to think of a really playable transitive verb. I've got to keep it simple. I've got to break it down. With Sid, it was just like, can you make me a happier face than that one, or. And she would always go, you mean like this? And I'd go, not that, but something,
Okay, I've got one for you in terms of her faces. When she has her fight, the first fight at the racetrack, and she wins, and she does this thing that I laughed out loud because it gave me like behavior joy. I go, that is so damn real. And it was when she goes and looks and she turns back and she's got this smile on her face like, I can't even believe I just did that. And at that moment, I was thinking of you watching that and knowing that you were just going, yeah, this is so good.
That's so true. That was exactly the experience I had on set. It was the experience I had in the edit room every time I looked at it. Mm-hmm. And that was her just understanding, just saying to her, this is one of those fights where you're really nervous about this one. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty basic in a way, but you yes, you're there, you're full of aggression. You want to knock this girl out, but there's a little kid inside of you that just can't believe you did it,
It's beautiful. So
I think it's very important in the film that and this is why I'm so glad that Sydney played the character, it's that character be adorable at the beginning of the film, and so that you can really feel how he, over the course of their relationship, kind of sucks the light out of her. And and to feel that, I think you really need to just feel that almost childlike joy at the beginning.
Do you have a feeling based on all you've done a lot of work now, a lot of really great work, and do you see any common themes, continuity, anything between them, or is it basically just kind of here's what I'm doing next, and I'm not completely sure why, but I have to do it? I guess I'm asking, is there a plan there? I think I know the answer, but go ahead.
The answer is a little bit no, but also a little bit yes. I think one of the reasons why I wanted to make this is that I had realized that over however many movies that they'd all been about kind of dudes who would, you know, I mean, I always say that I made a succession, not by design, made a succession of movies about kind of semi-delusional dudes coming to realize that they've been wrong about everything. And I really had a feeling like I wanted to make a movie, I mean, about a woman with a ferocious personality who actually knew where she was going, you know. But then and then Christy, this story presented itself and I was, okay, here's the one. Then in doing it, and so all those delusional dudes that I had made movies about were all in some way versions of myself. You know, they were either just naive or they were visions of my nightmares, you know, like delusional egomaniacs kind of wielding power. And then I make this one and I think Christy's just another version of me, you know, just like a little kid who can't believe, there's a little kid can't believe that she's getting to do it. And then suddenly just, you know, over a course of 20 years having the life sucked out of her. Yeah, that's me.
Well, you portrayed it beautifully, and the movie's open, so please tell everyone that they should see it because it's fantastic, and adult dramas and theatrical distribution are not words that you say in the same sentence very often. So, yeehaw. David.
Thank you for coming, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to another DGA Q&A. The Director's Cut is available wherever you listen to podcasts. And please share, subscribe, rate, and review. We'd love to hear your feedback, and you can help fellow film buffs find the show. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America.